Did you know the real Dracula wasn't a vampire, but a prince who brought real terror to Eastern Europe? Forget the fangs, the cape, and the sleeping in coffins. The true story of the man who inspired the legend is far more terrifying than any fiction. This is the story of Vlad III, Prince of Wallachia, a name that once echoed with fear across the battlefields of the 15th century. Our story begins not in a Gothic castle filled with shadows, but in a world torn apart by war. The mighty Ottoman Empire was expanding, casting a long, dark shadow over Eastern Europe. In this crucible of conflict, a new leader was forged. He was Vlad, son of Vlad Dracula, a name that meant the dragon. His father was a member of a secret chivalric society, the Order of the Dragon, sworn to defend Christianity against all enemies. From birth, Vlad was destined for a life of violence, politics, and betrayal. As a boy, Vlad and his younger brother were handed over as political hostages to the Ottoman Sultan. For years, they lived within the heart of the very empire they were meant to fight. It was here, in the gilded cage of the Ottoman court, that he witnessed both unimaginable luxury and unspeakable cruelty. He learned the language, the tactics, and the brutal mindset of his captors. This experience didn't break him. It hardened him, sculpting a boy into a future monarch with an iron will and a heart filled with vengeance. When he finally claimed his rightful throne in Wallachia, a small but strategic land now known as part of Romania, he inherited a kingdom plagued by internal strife and the constant threat of invasion. The nobles, the boyars, were treacherous, often siding with foreign powers for their own gain. Vlad knew that to rule, to survive, he needed more than just a crown. He needed to be feared. Absolutely. And so, he unleashed a reign of terror unlike any other. His methods were not just for punishment. They were a form of psychological warfare, designed to send a clear, horrifying message to his enemies, both at home and abroad. He became known by a new name, one whispered in fear and disgust: Gapik, in English, the Impaler. His preferred method of execution was as gruesome as its name suggests. He would have his enemies, be they Ottoman soldiers, corrupt nobles, or common criminals, impaled on long, sharp stakes. But it wasn't just the act itself. It was the theatricality of the horror. He once created a literal forest of the impaled, a grotesque landscape of thousands of bodies left to rot as a warning to an approaching Ottoman army. The sight was so ghastly, so beyond comprehension, that the invading sultan, a man accustomed to the horrors of war, reportedly turned his army around and retreated. Vlad was demonstrating that his cruelty could surpass even that of the most powerful empire on earth. He didn't just target soldiers. Stories tell of him punishing lazy merchants, unfaithful wives, and dishonest priests with the same brutal finality. He sought to impose a rigid, terrifying order upon his land. He would burn entire villages suspected of disloyalty. He invited the poor and sick to a great feast, only to lock them inside the hall and set it ablaze, claiming he was ridding his land of its burdens. Was this justice or madness? To his people, the answer was complicated. For many Wallachians, living under the constant threat of invasion, Vlad was a savior. He was the fierce protector, the strong leader who refused to bow to a foreign power. He was a national hero, a dragon defending his homeland against impossible odds. His brutality was seen as a necessary evil, the only language his powerful enemies would understand. He was their dark champion, a symbol of fierce independence. But to his enemies, and to many historians since, he was a monster. A ruthless tyrant whose thirst for blood seemed insatiable. A man who reveled in cruelty, who found power not just in victory, but in the suffering of others. He was the embodiment of human darkness, a ruler whose legacy was written in blood and fear. Hero or monster? The truth, as it often is, likely lies somewhere in the haunted shadows between the two. For centuries, the story of Vlad the Impaler was a dark chapter in Eastern European history, a cautionary tale of power and cruelty. But in the late 19th century, his legacy took a strange and unexpected turn. An Irish author named Bram Stoker, while researching Eastern European folklore and history, stumbled upon the tale of the bloodthirsty prince from Wallachia. He was captivated. Stoker borrowed the name Dracula, meaning son of the dragon, and took the essence of Vlad's terrifying reputation. He merged this historical figure with regional myths of the undead, the Strigoi, creating a new kind of monster. He transformed the historical prince into an aristocratic, supernatural predator, Count Dracula. The battlefields of Wallachia were replaced with the misty mountains of Transylvania and the foggy streets of London. The real-life horror of impalement was traded for the seductive, immortal bite of the vampire. The book was a sensation, and Vlad the Impaler's historical identity was forever eclipsed by his fictional undead counterpart. The real man, Vlad III, eventually met a violent end, fitting for a life lived by the sword. His death is shrouded in mystery, with some accounts claiming he was assassinated by his own nobles, others that he fell in battle against the Ottomans. His head was reportedly sent to the Sultan in Constantinople, a final gruesome trophy to mark the end of the Impaler. His body was said to be buried in a monastery, but when his supposed tomb was opened in the 20th century, it was found to be empty. The real Dracula left behind no cape, no coffin, only a chilling question that haunts us to this day. What is the true nature of a monster? Is it the supernatural creature that stalks the night in our fiction? Or is it the human being, a prince and a warrior, capable of inflicting unimaginable suffering in the name of power, order, and revenge? Maybe the most terrifying monster in history didn't sleep in a coffin, but he left a legacy that still chills the world to this day. His story reminds us that sometimes the most frightening tales are not the ones we invent, but the ones we find written in the darkest pages of our own history. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the dark heart of the past. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration of history's most compelling mysteries. See you next time.